Okay, welcome back to day 2, project 2 of the 7-day project challenge. So for today's project, we are going to be doing fully cut vinyl stickers. Now I am sure that there are other ways to go about doing this, but I'm going to show you the way that I found was easiest for me to get my stickers fully cut like that. So if you want to see how I do it, keep watching.
Alright, so in Design Space, the first thing that I'm going to do is upload the image that I'm going to be using for this sticker. I chose this little comic book word boom. Now, I chose simple because this was a very simple design, and I went into advanced options and I reduced the colors to 3 just to make it easier to get rid of all the colors. I did change the color tolerance to 100, but that was too strong for the actual image, so I did have to reduce it to 50 to get the rest of the image to clean up. Once I got it cleaned up, I saved it as a cut image and just uploaded it into my canvas. Once I had my image in the canvas, I just duplicated it and changed the colors so that I had one image in every color that I wanted to use for my vinyl sticker. Once I got all my colors, I selected all 3 layers and went up to a line and centered them together. Now I always start working with my back layer first. In this case, it was black. So I selected that layer, went to contours, and just hid all of my contours to make it a solid filled image. Now for my baby blue layer, I hid all the contours and then selected all the parts on that image that I wanted to be that color. Once I got that, I unselected the outline by clicking that very top box. Now for my dark blue or purple layer, I did the same thing. Hid the contours and then went through and selected all the letters. But I also had to select the insides of the O's and the B so they would be cut out as well. Then I unselected the outline and it was ready to go. Then I just selected the very back layer to add an offset. The offset's going to be the shape that the backing of the sticker is cut. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to select my very back layer and the offset, and I'm going to attach them so that they will be cut together, but there will still be 2 cuts. So once I hit make it, I'm actually going to start with my blue layer and purple layer first, so I will cut the offset and the backing last.
Okay, so for that light blue bottom layer, I'm actually going to use my holographic vinyl. I think that will look super, super awesome. And then for the words on top, I'm gonna go with this purple Oracle 651, super pretty purple. 631. Okay, so the biggest reason you want to cut the offset and your very back layer last is so that you can leave it on the mat. And you'll see why here in a second. It makes it super, super easy to get the backing to cut in the right spot. Because what I'm actually going to do with this back layer is I'm going to weed off the excess. And then, I'm not sure if you can see this on the camera angle, but I have 2 cuts there. Let's do this. Okay, so you can see I have 2 cuts there. So I'm gonna weed that very outside offset, but leave my back layer on there. Because that layer I just weeded off is going to be the cut for my backing. Now to weed the rest of my colors so I can start layering them. And I actually found through a little trial and error that it is easier to layer from top to bottom so that you can just kind of keep adding layers on top of layers and then put your full design down on your offset or your back layer, whichever it is. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take this purple layer and layer on top of my holographic, and then layer the two of them on my black outline. Got my piece of parchment paper here to help me layer my vinyl. And if you've never used parchment paper, what I do is you just leave a little tiny sliver of the vinyl hanging out. You cover the rest with parchment paper because the vinyl will not stick to it, but it allows you to kind of play around with your layers so you can get them lined up the way that you want them without actually committing and sticking it down to realize it does not fit on there the way that you want. That looks good. So then I just push that edge down that I left hanging out, lift the tape, pull out the parchment paper, and then just squeegee it down. And this one looks a little bit off, but honestly, because it's kind of the comic book thing, it's going to look great. So now I'm just going to pick up both of these layers on this transfer tape so that I can layer it on my back layer. Same thing, I'm going to use the parchment paper. This time I'm going to have a little part on the top kind of hanging out so I can make sure that those little spiky things line up correctly on here. Okay, that looks all right. So same thing, press down the top, lift the rest of it, pull out the parchment paper, and squeegee it down. Cool deal. So I'm actually going to leave this piece of transfer tape on there. I'm not going to replace it because I'll keep this one for myself. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the transfer tape on there with the design. And I'm going to go back into Design Space to set up this very last cut. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back into Cricut and go back into Design Space.
Back in Design Space, the first thing I did was hid my purple and baby blue layers. Then I detached my offset from my back layer so that I could hide my back layer as well, leaving only the offset on my canvas. Then I just hit Make It. And I used the medium cardstock setting to cut the backing and the transfer tape.
Alright, and now it's all been cut. So I am going to peel off this excess backing as well as transfer tape. Now I used an old piece of transfer tape because I was keeping this one for myself. So it did not cut like quite as clean as a brand new piece of transfer tape will. The new ones just like stick a lot flatter because they don't have, you know, that gunk on them from using them. But it still worked out. So now to peel the sticker off the mat. And there it is. So that is how I do my fully cut vinyl stickers. Super simple process, but yeah, they just look so much better when they're that way. So project number 2, day 2 in the books of the 7-day project challenge. If you have any other ideas for these videos, let me know. But I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope this helps.